All right, so trying to weld off a old set of truck batteries, take two. So I got millermatic 211 and a set of 8 Group 31 truck batteries running off a vevor inverter. Total pack voltage 26 and a half at the moment. I got 030 wire on 100% CO2 at the auto set in that setting, and we'll see what happens. And apparently it works just fine, so I'll turn that up a little. I'll turn that up a little more. Okay, so that's pretty cool. I like that. All right, I got it turned up a little more yet. All right, turned up a little more yet. And turned up a little more yet. Okay, now maybe that seems like it's starting to sputter and cut out a little bit. So what I'll do is move the camera to look at the faceplate of the, well, you'll see. So I would ignore the voltage reading. It does not seem to be accurate on this, but at least the wattage will give us some idea of how much power this thing's using. So there's that. And then this guy here is reading overall pack voltage. And then now I got it switched to where the leads are reading the input voltage to the inverter itself. Okay, so what cut out? That was the inverter that cut itself out. And I, of course, wasn't able to see that while I was going here, so it'll be interesting to go back and see what that says. I'm going to turn the power down on the welder just ever so slightly and see if we can continue to weld. All right, got it turned down just a little bit. All right, and I see the light flashing here, but I don't know why. $25.8 static. I again didn't see what it was while I was running, but that's not bad. Turn the welder down a little bit more, see what happens. All right. Alright. Alright, so where I ended there was where I would normally run the welder. I was just turning it up to run it to failure, which obviously we've met, which is not surprising. I mean, we have 8 used truck batteries and a cheap Chinese inverter, but I'm very impressed at what this combination can do. And actually the fan didn't even come on this thing that I heard, and it's, you know, presumably could take more of a sustained load. It's obviously a small inverter for this application, but for the purpose of this, I'm just trying to play around with it and see if the theory works or see if the idea works. And then I'm personally very impressed with this, very blown away by this, considering that, where's their stickers? We've got, so these are different batteries, but there's 4 matching of these and 4 matching of these, which are 4 years old and 2 years old used truck batteries. So, you know, in theory, this would do much, much better with brand new batteries. And, you know, on this pallet here, I've got room that I could put more on here and maybe even put another row on the front. So that would be what, 18 batteries I could put on this pallet or something. But we got essentially 13 there and a little over 13 there. So these two banks are not perfectly matched, but they're pretty close. Oops. Fuck's sakes. And 26 overall. I got another video talking about putting the center rack in parallel, but that seems to have made a big difference on this, because I did try running this welder off of this before and it wasn't working. And I think partly the reason for that was, for one, I only had 4 batteries at the time, but I didn't have these parallel connectors in the center. Now I do have the parallel connectors in the center and an extra set of batteries. But, you know, extrapolating off of what I would consider, you know, a surprisingly good result from this, if I was to say, you know, get 8 or 12 or whatever more brand new Group 31s, and a bigger split phase inverter, does that mean that I could run, say, my well off of it, or say like a bigger air compressor, or potentially even a bigger welder? You know, I've got that little tiny fart of a welder right there, but I've also got these three over here: a Hobart Ironman, Everlast 256 or something like that, and then an Everlast 208. Which I use these for a bigger MIG welder, a TIG welder, and a plasma cutter. And then this guy here for a small MIG welder. Yeah, you know, on a bigger rack of batteries and bigger split phase inverter, could I run all of those, not simultaneously, but, you know, could I actually turn up that Ironman? That would be pretty cool. Also, too, if I was to, you know, say, be using this setup here when the grid power is out, I would of course have my generator running, running the battery charger to put some power back into the batteries. Right now, this wasn't, you know, this is with the batteries just static. They were fully charged, but the batteries just static, no power going into them. But yeah, there is welding with a little tiny Miller welder off of a grimy old set of used truck batteries.